Hello, y'all. My name is Linwood Watson. I'm Hiawassee, North Carolina, and I'm here with an excellent recipe to utilize the native North American persimmon. Today, we're going to be going through a recipe from a well-respected forager, Sam Thayer. And Sam has made a great persimmon bread recipe that we can all enjoy. Without further ado, I'm going to start off with the star of the recipe. I always like to say this is persimmon gold. This is American persimmon pulp. It has been frozen to the amount that I want for my recipe. Now, we talk a lot about foraging, identifying American persimmon trees in your community. I also want to emphasize how to get from the fruit that you pick, most likely off the ground, making sure it's not astringent, but then getting to this pulp. And so one tool that is useful for this, if you're any pharmacy background, it's like a mortar and pestle. Well, this is a ricer. And you will put the squishy, ripe persimmon fruit, maybe 2 or 3 in this device. See, it has like a colander, it has holes there. And then stick it in there, and round the circle we go. Just keep going, and with these holes on the stand, you'll see that liquid gold pulp start to magically emerge out, and it will drip down, and you just keep adding that until you get the amount you need. In this case, it's 1 3/4, or just under 2 cups of persimmon pulp, which I froze here in the Ziploc bag. Periodically, you'll have to stop, of course, because skin and seeds will get caught up in the ricer here. You can just dump it out, save the seeds, and throw them outside so that nature can disperse them to make more persimmon trees. Clean out the pores and then have at it again till you're there. People, when you're foraging, they often will say, well, for like 2 cups, how many persimmons does it take? Obviously, that depends on the size of the persimmon. A good American persimmon is like a small plum. If you're foraging very wild persimmons, they may be smaller, like maybe like a cherry tomato. So I can tell you, good size American persimmons, again, your mileage may vary, but it takes about 40-ish, maybe 45 of them, about small plum size, to get to that 2 cups. So we start off with the dry ingredients. Again, basic pantry staples, most of these, or easily attained. First, we have 3 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. We then have 1 1/2 cups of chopped nut meats. Now, the original recipe calls for hickory nut meats. Hickory nut meats, obviously, unless you have a hickory nut tree, they may not be as available. I have made this recipe very successfully with hazelnuts. I also have used it many times with pecans or pecans, depending on where you're from. I'm going to tell you, I don't think peanut would work. No, so I wouldn't do that one. Next, on the dry ingredients, 1/2 tablespoon of powdered ginger, 1/2 tablespoon of cinnamon. The beauty of cooking with persimmon is that it permeates everything in the dish with this deep and rich but fruity taste. And you don't want to overwhelm that. I think in modern cooking, it's very easy to do that, to let the big, bold spices do the work for you. It smells good in the oven, but let the fruit be the star of the show because you spent the work in collecting it. So as mentioned, 1/2 tablespoon of cinnamon, 1 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and then 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking soda. So those 7 players there will constitute our dry ingredients. And now we're not going to get to them right yet, but I will go ahead and summarize the wet ingredients that will be combined and then mixed together for the final product. You got 3 medium, again I repeat, medium eggs. Lord knows there's all sorts of eggs, but just 3 medium more than does the job here. Other wet ingredients, we got 1 1/2 cups of maple syrup, also 1 3/4, just under 2 cups of persimmon pulp, as mentioned, our persimmon gold, out of the freezer there. 1/2 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Again, I know a lot of people love vanilla, but stick with the basics here to let the persimmon be the star. And 3/4 cup of coconut oil. Now, a couple of things here. I encourage people, experiment. I know coconut oil at some places can be a little off the beaten path. I've never tried it with vegetable oil because I don't want to waste my persimmon, but that may be worth a try. Another thing is most of the time coconut oil is of course much cheaper when you buy it kind of in that thick cake where you slice it off with a fork or a pastry knife. That is cheaper, works just as good. Just make sure that you mix it thoroughly because you got those chunks, literally, of coconut oil. You want to evenly disperse them through your batter mix. So now let's get down to business. We're going to start with our dry ingredients and just mix them all up. There. Got our nut meats here. Again, your choice of nuts there. I have not tried this recipe without nuts. If you're worried about tree nuts or allergies, you know, if you're serving to an unknown group, you're going to miss that wonderful smell in the oven, but I'm assuming you could probably make it without it. But again, since you have the oils already from the wet ingredients. And this usually mixes pretty easy. Just make sure you get those nuts there all dispersed nicely so it's even. Don't want to cheat anybody, especially those good southern pecans there. We'll mix that up nicely and then we'll set it aside there. So that looks pretty good. So now we'll move to the wet ingredients. I like to use, if you got a different size bowl, a larger bowl because the dry is going to all go into that wet there. So our eggs, 3 medium eggs, we'll just mix these up here. And then we want to do the maple syrup. And this is the exact amount I need here. Now obviously here I had my eggs here in this bowl. I'm going to switch it over in a second to the wet area. So we've got that. It's mixing good. Don't forget get all your syrup there. That does add to the overall sweetness nicely. And the coconut oil will be next. Mixing that. Mix that really good here. And then the rest of the wet ingredients, which at this point, our vanilla extract. And of course our persimmon pulp. All right, one other thing. If you're doing berry pulp or persimmon pulp, if you're frustrated, especially if it's still a little frozen, which you want it at room temperature ideally, but don't forget you can open the Ziploc bag, but then cut the seam on the side, and then that totally fillets it open nicely, so you don't miss any. One other thing, hope you can see it, there's a little bit of semi-formed seeds in this pulp. Those are soft. They add a little bit of color, but they're safe to eat. Sometimes even with the ricer, you'll have some partially formed seeds. Again, they're not hard. You're not going to chip a tooth. They'll be like little black flakes or flecks in the pulp. Not a big deal. You know, you're not going to really see it in the final mixture. So let's get that guy in there. Again, get as much as you can. Sometimes you just split the other side of the bag and you can take a spatula and just get all the goodness there. We got all that together and mix it so it's nice and consistent. If you do have maybe like a large fibrous area, just take a fork and chop it up. That's rare to happen, but sometimes that does happen. And then one tip here, we're going to add all the dry ingredients. Now here's the thing, in talking with people, you can overmix this. You just want to mix this until there's no more dry. You don't have to knead it. You don't have to keep mixing. Once all the dry powder is gone with the wet, you're good. Stop. Don't overdo it because it'll change the final consistency. And just to keep the mass down, I'll mix it a little bit as we go. Again, don't go crazy with the mixing. Because you don't want to make the final product too dense. So I'll just do kind of a chop in there with the big spoon. You can see how I've got less and less powder. Be sure to get it off the sides there, but you see how it's steadily disappearing into this kind of golden gelatinous mix. If you notice too, when I mix it up sometimes, there'll be some dry in the middle. You want to get that out. Like I said, don't overmix it. I probably wouldn't use an electric mixer here because I know you can overdo this part. All right, I think we're good. Let me look on the bottom here. There's no more dry. Everything's looking good. Takes a fairly large casserole dish, and it does need to be oiled. So, and now, if I can do this without spilling it everywhere, do make sure sometimes the sticky pulp will get on your spoon. Don't miss that. That's your persimmon goodness that you got. You just pour it in. And this is where we want our spatula. And this will be more uniform than you're thinking. Of course, you'll be so busy eating it, it kind of won't matter now, will it? You know how some relatives, they only show up when there's food? Yeah, we all know that, don't we? Got that? So this goes into the oven. Preheat your oven to 375 for 50 minutes. Of course, ovens can vary, not just like the old toothpick test. Put it gently in the thickest part, and you want to look and make sure you can pull it out without any moist batter sticking to it. And here we are, the moment of truth and tastiness. We have our American Persimmon bread, looking good. One note, again, aside from finding the persimmons and honoring that tree, you can make this very easily from many of the items in the FDPIR pantry that you have at home. But you've really got a nice dish here to enjoy. On a storage note, this will sit out, just cover it up with saran wrap to keep some moisture, keep it from drying out. It usually will stay for about 3 days with no problem. After that, it'll get a little dry. But if you've done it right, if you're like most people, it ain't gonna make it much past 1 day. And we have something really special today. We have talked a lot about foraging, about utilizing the plants around your traditional tribal area. And one thing that comes up a lot is berries, or as some people say, brambles. And make no mistake, if you've been blessed with brambles, you can have a lot of berries in a very short amount of time. What do you do with this cornucopia of fruit? Well, one way is what's known as traditional long cooking, or TLC, in jam making. All we need is the 9 cups of crushed, again, that's after you crushed them, 9 cups of crushed berries, perhaps your FDPIR frozen blueberries, or perhaps some berries that you foraged using some of your elder knowledge there, like mulberries, as well as 6 cups of sugar, very simple. And I know it seems minor, but one important jam making piece of equipment is a small table fan or even a clip-on fan next to your oven. If you're sitting there stirring, you want to be comfortable. So get a fan. It will help you tremendously as you boil down to the all-important gelling point. We'll get this going. So the pot that you're using, you want to keep it moving. You don't have to break your elbow or anything, but just keep it, especially in the corners, just keep it moving the whole way. But to check for the gelling point, while stirring, I will quickly dump this in here and look for gelling. Notice right now, real liquid. Everything is very loose in consistency. So you can see we're getting warm now. Got some steam off. It's not boiling yet. Don't see any bubbles, but it's warm enough. We're going to go ahead and add our 6 cups of sugar. And this is where we want to make sure we keep stirring from now till the end. This is why you want your fan. So we got 6 cups there. I want to stir well. And just for the record, right now I'm on low medium. I was just bringing the berries, the crushed berries, to a nice point to help dissolve the sugar. And now I'm going to go to medium high. This is level 8. And we're going to keep stirring, and we'll go from there. We're starting to get loud now. Notice we're getting bubbly. We're coming to a boil. Let's see all the steam now. It's starting to get angry. Listen. It's starting to talk to me. Get more bubbles. Notice the steam. That's the water evaporating off. Pretty runny still. A little thick. Look at that. Look at that. Just running. All right, it's really sputtering now. And the color's starting to set. It's getting a little darker here. We're going to start getting some splatter. That's okay. Try to keep your check spoon clean as much as you can. That's why I got those napkins. Uh-oh. See? A little runny, but it's getting thicker. Notice you don't have that continuous stream as much. There we go. Look at that. Coming off in clumps. We're there. This is cooked down nice. I'm going to turn this off. Once this reaches room temperature, the jam will be a nice dollop, and by the time, especially once this gets to the fridge, it'll be a good consistency. But this is cooked down nice. No pectin, traditional, long cooking. So appreciate you all's interest. Really hope that this fosters not just some good food, but some good family time and a good relationship with the world around us, and in a way that preserves our culture.